Palpatine doesn't know is we're a dyad in the Force.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another DYAD video.
Hello there.
This is Path of Deceit, and it is the first book in Phase 2 of the High Republic. We are now currently back in time to 382 BBY, 150 years earlier. And I've been saying this since like Wave 2, and I'm wondering, Choco, if you agree. This is the prequel era, and Phase 3 is going to be the sequel era.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is the prequels, and that means that, I mean, where we ended in Phase 1 with, you know, them kind of off on their own and like set up hyperspace mines. you can't get to them. And I think what we're going to see is the next generation, and we're going to see, you know, our goodest boys grown up and taking care of business. Yeah, I'm really happy to go back. I was worried that this wasn't going to connect as well, because like, what are we just going to get different stories with these people in the past, or is the narrative going to truly connect the two? And damn it does.
It does so hard. And when they released the character concepts for Marda Ro, we immediately recognized, hey, she's a Ro. So that's our first minor connection. But then you read this book and you're like, they went hard on just dropping you into the drama of this era, that you have immediate connections to Phase 1, and you're not forgetting what the trauma of the end of Phase 1, right? If you've read Phase 1 and all the way through the end, you know the trauma we're talking about, because this book doesn't take a breath. It's like, you remember what happened? It's still happening.
One of the final thing, I think it's technically the last thing to come out, although release date may have been the second to last thing, is Eye of the Storm, right? We get the Marchion Ro story was the last thing of the last phase, and it dovetails so perfectly into this book, where you are getting the origins of all of these things, like stuff that you finished Light of the Jedi and you're like, what the hell is this thing? This is telling you what that thing is.
Yes, it is definitely telling you. We get some connections with some artifacts as well, as it says in the blurb. You know, there is a faction that is taking some Force artifacts, and that's what involves our main characters, Kevmo Zink and Salamakri, and of course Marda Ro, which is I guess an ancestor of Marchion Ro. Like, this family is effed up. I can't think of another word to describe them.
Yeah, no, it's a wild ride, but more than this family, this also dives into Force lore. We get to see groups of people that worship the Force, that understand the Force, that feel the Force, and oh man, I love expanding that. Feels like a lot of fandom believes that, you know, the Force is either Jedi or Sith. There's so much more to it than that. There's so many more people to it than that. And now I need some information on Jedi. Like, this has absolutely whet my appetite for so many things that are going to be coming out here.
The gap in the time is so large, yet it's so cohesive with what just transpired in Phase 1. Then I'm looking forward to Edge of Balance Volume 3. We got that teaser at the end of Volume 2. It said Volume 3 coming soon, or to be continued. And I'm like, but wait, we just jumped back. So Volume 3 is definitely, I think it's either going to be, no, for sure it's going to be a continuation of Phase 1. We're going to go right back. It's going to be the start of Phase 3. And we're back into the main timeline, or at least like 5 or 10 years afterwards, depending. But I gotta say, I really appreciated, you know, the newness and the rawness of the writing style in this book, because you can see hints of stylistic tendencies from Justina, but you know for sure where Tessa Gratton comes in.
It felt to me like Justina acted more in an advisory role on things, probably because connection to, you know, the previous stuff. But yeah, Tessa Gratton's writing style was just really well done. She manages the relationships between all of the characters extremely well, and that's what really like sold this book for me.
There were times where I was like, wait, is this an adult novel? Because it's very, you know, it doesn't hold back, but the nature or the themes that we're tackling in this book is very grown up and mature. And there are certain things about the Force lore and certain interactions between our main characters that seem very adult, which I appreciate, because this is something that we get from like a new writer to this initiative, right? Some people think differently when it comes to grading books, and I appreciate this level of rawness and honesty in writing.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go on a limb and say that within the world of Star Wars, YA is not its intended audience. YA is the main characters that we're following are young adults.
that makes sense.
Because I also, reading this, I didn't think it was a YA book, you know. At least it didn't feel like it at all. This one was so broad. We had so many different perspectives and so many different characters, and jumped, you know, from place to place. And, you know, unlike some of the other ones, this book is playing for keeps, you know. This really is.
I was not expecting it to end the way it did either.
Yeah, it's like a, you know, if you mix a kid's book with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that is for sure a very vivid picture now. But no spoilers in this review. We're just talking primarily on how we felt about the book. I absolutely enjoyed this book. It was such a breath of fresh air, and it's definitely, you know, a great book to reintroduce yourself into the High Republic era. And you know, I think you could start here as well. I think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's honestly what I was about to say. Is it feels like if you didn't read any of phase 1, you could start right here, and then once you eventually finish and go back to what phase 1 is, you're still gonna hit the same amount of like surprise and then shock in certain ways.
And this is kind of like the formula or the magic of Star Wars media, with the beginning and then before and then after, is that you can start here. It's like you watching episode 1 first as a Star Wars fan, and then if you go into the sequel era, which is what we're, you know, experiencing in the last couple of years, some fans are going to start with the sequel books, but it's okay, because Star Wars has been like that forever, where you can start on phase 3 of High Republic and be like, wait, what does this mean? How does this connect? And then you go back to like phase 1 or even phase 2, and it all makes sense. The timeline of Star Wars is so vast and wide that we are consuming things at different timelines. It is daunting for new Star Wars fans to be like, when does this happen? And then you throw them BBY and ABY, and it's confusing. But definitely a great start to phase 2. And you know, if you are not in the High Republic, if you're not into the High Republic now, it's a great start if you want to get into it now and keep track of it, because this is the earliest history in canon for the High Republic. And then you know, make your way towards phase 1, make your way towards the Light of the Jedi. All right, that'll do it for this video reviewing Path of Deceit by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more Star Wars content, and tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. for High Ground, which is hosted by Choco, Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific for our DYAD in the Force.
Yes.
That's the end. On to the next one.
For light and for life,
we are all the Republic.
and may the Force be with you always. There's something I mean, that's going to be what it is. It's so sorry. My mind went blank. So you can cut out everything I said.
Yes, well, I'm